Welcome to another episode of Steven Study with your host here, Steven. And you already know the drill. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to our YouTube page here at PHNX Sports, and also to my personal YouTube and Twitter as well at StevenPG3. And without further ado, we're going to be looking at the value added that Cody Martin brings. So let's go ahead and dive into the film. All right, we're going to be just kind of chapter-wise looking at Cody Martin working off the ball, navigating screens. Then we're going to look at him taking some charges, some of his blocks, and some of his steals, and just detailing how he adds value in the ways in which he goes about putting forth his multiple efforts in terms of a dynamic over the course of games. So first thing we're going to be looking at here, like I mentioned, his off-ball screen navigation. And we're going to pause it here just so that you see where he is and what he's doing as play gets ready to start. So he's up here in this top left corner of the screen, right here, loading up to guard up against the Detroit Pistons. And watch him just navigating the screens and watch how he stays attached to his matchup through all of the action that takes place. Malik Beasley, one of the more high volume players that uses screens off the ball to get open and get into movement shots and just generally creating advantages for his team. And you see there, Cody Martin stays attached to the hip, navigating all the screens. Hardly gets clipped, stays attached, and ultimately funnels him right into Nick Richards, which is going to be an important thing to keep in mind for this one as he funnels him towards his big man to help, and he gets the block shot. And then the defensive chemistry is going to be seen a little bit more here. So you see the defensive rebound from Paul George. Cody Martin picking Paul George up immediately upon the touch of the basketball, forcing him to give it up, and then they ultimately get into the defensive set for Charlotte now. And now you can see him again just playing with pressure and making sure that his presence is felt even when he's off the ball. And Paul George getting ready to flow through some of Nick Nurse's offense's hallmark dynamics, which is Iverson screens. So you see the two screens set at the elbows, and you see Paul George flowing from one wing to the other. And watch how closely in proximity Cody Martin is as he navigates these screens. Hardly gets touched, meets him on the other side of the court, and is immediately funneling him to where he knows where his help defender is going to be, who again in this clip is Nick Richards. And that defensive chemistry that those two have is going to be something that unlocks some things in a positive way for the Suns defensively, especially if they're matched up in lineups together, and we see just that here. After navigating the screens, funnels the ball handler right into his big man, but notice how he funnels him there, but doesn't just concede the one-on-one matchup there. He still stays attached to shrink the floor, shrink the options, and Paul George is ultimately going to have his shot blocked from behind as well as in the front by both Cody Martin and Nick Richards. So job well done there. Him being able to stick to opposing offensive players like glue is going to be something that really helps the Suns in a way in which they didn't have before they made the trade for him. And speaking to that, and him going to now play with the Suns, we have a clip with him going against the Suns. So watch Grayson Allen in transition, one of the places where he excels for the Suns, crossing the half-court line, seeing that there's no one in the paint and electing to attack the basket. And watch the way that Cody Martin stays attached to his hip all the way through this drive, and ultimately is able to not just contest the layup at the basket for Grayson Allen, but also gets up, times up the jump, out elevates Grayson Allen, and meets the layup attempt before it can even hit the backboard. This is shades of a player that I'm not going to name because I'm not making that comparison, but in terms of the impact and how he's going about generating this event-causing style of defense, it's akin to some of the elite level defenders in the league, just based off of his template for defensive playmaking. And again, that's going to be something that's just of great value for the Suns team. And I'm going to pause this one here because this one kind of blends in a few of his dynamics into one specific possession. So naturally you see Giannis, you know he's going to be doing something going to the basket, and the demands that puts on not just the primary defender, but also the help defense around and how everybody's on high alert. So pick up on Cody Martin right now where I have the cursor, and then just kind of keep an eye on him as action kind of unfolds. Then we'll bring this one back a little bit so we can break it down. All right, so I think that's a great template for just exactly how great he's been defensively as an individual and how he helps to just bridge the gap for a Suns team that hasn't had the style of multiple efforts that he's able to compile in some time. And I think that the first thing we're going to be looking at here and seeing where he's at is his help positioning. He's early in his help spot, obviously understanding that Giannis is a threat to drive from wherever he catches the ball or wherever he might be initiating action from. So understanding that, he's already peeled in early to help build up that proverbial wall. Shout out to Stan Van Gundy on that. But also just even past that, just being able to shrink the floor and understanding who he's guarding, what they're capable of, and trusting his instincts as a defender to take away the rim before anything else. And I think understanding that as a defender and what's valued most based off of whatever primary action might be happening up top is as important as anything else. So you see him doing a great job shrinking the floor on Giannis, and then ultimately he's gonna get caught in a little bit of limbo as Giannis kind of retreat dribbles. And this is the one time in all of the defensive film that I watched from Cody Martin this season that I can remember him being beat back door. But watch how he recovers. And these are the multiple efforts that I'm talking about. Goes from shrinking the floor on Giannis, gets lost in the weeds in terms of shrinking the floor while his man backdoor cuts and doesn't see that he's cutting to that direction. But watch the athleticism and the defensive playmaking ability of him right here. Being able to get into recovery mode and get to this block. Again, meeting yet another layup before he gets to the backboard and can be called a goaltend just speaks to his explosive athleticism in terms of the leaping ability, but also his ability to be a quick twitch kind of reaction type of player. Again, the multiple efforts from him is something that the Suns are going to greatly benefit from. And then here's another instance with him. This time he's guarding Bobby Portis initially, and now this is speaking to his defensive versatility. Going from guarding a screener, guarding up to the 4 position in Bobby Portis. He sets that screen. He now switches, gets into a late switch here on the ball. Now he's guarding Damian Lillard off a dynamic touch with the live dribble. He gets beat off the dribble initially, but not beat in terms of conceding leverage in terms of a blow-by. He gets beat in terms of leverage, but watch how he sticks to the hip of Damian Lillard and then times up the jump again to get a block on the other side of the rim. This is not something that average defenders do. And Cody is getting this job done, as we've highlighted in a couple of plays already, with his multiple efforts in multiple instances. And I think no better play encapsulates the multiple efforts and his defensive playmaking ability as this play that we're going to be watching right here. So he just missed the layup for full context. Cavaliers on the break. Darius Garland gets the ball. Cody Martin is just now passing half court. Darius Garland's already passed it, as you can see in this still frame. Watch how he times up what ultimately comes on this possession. Again, the poetry that basketball is giving us right now, I'm not going to make the comparison, but this is akin to the type of defensive playmaking that a player that used to don the Cavaliers jersey in a very high level winning fashion would go about making plays on defense, timing up these chase down blocks in this context of play. And we're going to see him again just tormenting Darius Garland at this point, and just general Cleveland Cavaliers players with his multiple efforts. Usually a player would try to sprint back to play in front of the player that has the ball in transition. Watch what he's doing here, as he just kind of lollygags essentially into the play, not unlike LeBron James would in these type of instances, and is ultimately able to get up this block and just get up a solid contest in general, consistently doing so without fouling, being able to wall up at the basket like that. His rim protection is something that's going to be truly invaluable for this Suns team that doesn't have a ton of players that block a ton of shots. And again, just his defensive playmaking ability and the activity that he sustains is going to be something that helps to add to the margins for the Suns on the defensive end of the floor, where they need it more than anything else. And then again, we see him here defending the isolation now in an empty corner. Again, doesn't get completely blown by, concedes a little bit of leverage, but stays in contact to where he doesn't allow for his matchup to get completely downhill. And now watch him as he gets into help positioning. Job well done. And now watch this rotation that he's making here. Gets the charge taken, but as we take it back just a little bit, you see everything that's happening up top on the ball, and then you see what happens as the dust kind of resettles. You see another secondary drive, and watch him as the low man here. This is rim protection. It's not always about blocking shots. You're not always going to be in a position to block shots with how quick things happen on the basketball floor, but you can also double in rim protection just by being in position early enough to take a charge. And the Suns don't have any players that actually do this with any consistency. Cody Martin is now a player that does that. He has the charge card in him in a sense, and his ability to kind of preemptively anticipate things with his defensive playmaking ability and put himself in a position to make these type of plays consistently. Again, it's something that's just a value that the Suns did not have prior to them making this trade for him. And as we see this play kind of develop, you see the activity, and it's going to be another charge taken from Cody, but the context is different. He was taking on a straight line drive in the last rep where he wasn't peeled into his matchup in the post, but now on this rep, you see him engaged in the post, and watch how he disengages in the post, anticipates the Euro step, puts himself perfectly in position to take the charge straight to the chest, gets the call for his team on defense, ball going the other way. Just a ton of the defensive playmaking ability in terms of the value that Cody Martin is going to be adding to this Suns team was highlighted in this film session. We appreciate your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Even leave a comment if you want to continue on with the discourse and engage. And we appreciate y'all. Take care.